The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and/or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
TV party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated to our favorite shows!
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Pearson at Blurnsville.
Futurama!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, Alexis Hejna. Joining me tonight, every time we discuss a show, he has always been by my side, Mr. Mark Radulich. Hello.
Hey, how's it going tonight, Alexis?
Going good. And joining us for the first time, because he and his wife managed to binge all 4 seasons in an insane amount of time, so props to that, Mr. Jesse Starcher.
Hey, oh my goodness. Yeah, I wanted to get in on this because I didn't know if we were going to be able to, if I was going to be able to have a chance to talk about this show with anybody. And then I realized you guys you've done all 3 seasons so far and you're doing a 4th. I can't wait.
And that is all 4 seasons of Only Murders in the Building, an American mystery comedy drama television series created by Steve Martin and John Hoffman, premiering on Hulu, brought to us by the good people at Rhode Island Avenue Productions, another Hoffman Story Productions, 40 Share Productions, 20th Television, and a 20 I found in my blazer. It stars Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez as residents at the famous Arconia, the upscale Upper West Side apartment building, who all 3 happen to have a fondness for murder podcasts. When a murder actually takes place in their building, they decide to investigate and launch their own podcast. And apparently people are still stupid enough to stay around the Arconia because everyone's dropping like flies. I mean, seriously, at this point, how many residents should be saying, okay, you know what? Call my lawyer, terminate my lease, bye.
Yeah,
Right.
well, they actually dealt with that in show where they were just like, the amount of murders that happen in this upscale building is beyond the pale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because we now have another murder with season 4, in which the theme is that our podcasters are going to Hollywood. Our 3 are approached by a producer, Bev Mellon, played by Molly Shannon, who is clearly having the time of her life playing this role,
I have
to
thoughts.
make a film based off of the first season of their podcast. But adding into the mix is the discovery that Charles, that's Steve Martin's character's lifelong friend and stunt person, Saz Pataki, was found dead. Not just found dead, her body was stuffed into an incinerator and burned. The only evidence they found that it was her was her various metal artificial joints and bones and such. So now not only do they have to deal with getting a movie made off of it and all the drama that comes with that, but now they have another murder to investigate as they try to find out who killed Saz. So, Jesse, Mark and I have been reviewing this show since the start. I approached him about it when Disney made the announcement that they had acquired the rights to the show for Hulu. And this was actually the exact same meeting where it was announced that they would not be replacing Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. So that tells you how far back this goes.
Wow.
Approached Mark about it and said, when this comes out, I think we need to review it. We saw the first trailer. We're like, yeah, let's review it. We've been doing it ever since. You're joining us for the first time. You know, like I said, you got through all 4 seasons pretty quickly. Tell us
Right.
what you thought of the first 3.
Yeah, well, okay. So I might need a little help remembering because, yeah, I did jam pack everything in. I just looked at my TV Time app and I started the first episode on November 12th of 2024. So, yeah, less than a month. I got through all 4 seasons. Now, granted, these aren't, these are only like 30, 40 minutes.
It's a breezy binge.
Yeah, you can have 10 episodes a season, 40 minutes an episode at most. It's real easy to get through this.
I got through this one in about 3 days.
Yeah,
I think.
it's real. It's not, and it's fun too. You're having a good time. So, the way that this kind of started was, I heard you guys at least mentioning it a couple times, and then my daughter had actually sent me a message. She's at college and she's been watching TV shows. She's like, "Dad, I think you would like this Only Murders in the Building show." And I said, "Well, me and your mom are sort of looking for something to watch." And she came home for a weekend and she's like, let's just watch the first episode. And I'll tell you, the first episode, I was just like, I don't know if this is going to be for us. I really didn't. I mean, I love Steve Martin. I love Martin Short. And Selena Gomez, I don't really have too much of an attachment to, but
You and me are the same person.
I have such an appreciation for Steve Martin, and I love Martin Short.
I feel like I said the same thing word for word.
Mindy does not like Martin Short, so that was kind of a tough sell.
Really?
Let's say for most of us, Selena Gomez is someone we know as from a show on Disney that I know none of us watched, and occasional forays into pop music where people have called her a much more clean version of Miley Cyrus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So after the first episode, I was like, well, then I was like, okay, let's give it another shot here. So we watched the second episode, and it really starts to grow on us from that point forward. And then probably midway through the first season, I was like, yeah, this is a great show. I think it's hilarious. It's got us on the hook. So I wish I could sit here and compare the three seasons in my brain. But I've been entertained with all three. We'll just put it that way. I've not come out of any of the seasons going, this one was better than the other one. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they really feel, I mean, when we end one season, we're almost going into the plot for the next one pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right there at the end of that season, which is great. I love the way that it kind of keeps you guessing. That's the whole point of the show. And I also love the way that it kind of pokes fun at itself, because we were just talking about how, like, there's so many murders that are happening in this building.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're going, they don't like try to pass it off as like legitimate. They are poking fun at themselves every once in a while. I love some of the inside jokes that are made. I love the fact that these two old guys are hanging out with this. Is she Gen Z or Gen?
The phrase you're looking for, sir, is young Chippy.
And she's trying to teach them all about technology, and watching Steve Martin and Oliver and oh my goodness, what is Steve's character? I can't remember.
It's Charles and Oliver.
Charles, thank you. And just watching them fumble, trying to at least do something on their phone, and she just can't put up with their crap half the time. But it's great because these three people find each other. They're complete, like, just strangers at the beginning of this show, and then they find each other.
And loners, by the way. They're both kind of lone.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they find each other, and then they have a mission, and it's fun to watch them work through it. And then we've had 3 seasons leading up to this 4th one, and I think they've hit the mark every single time. I've had a good time. I've enjoyed myself.
Were you a big fan of Steve Martin's comedy back in the day? Like, he's kind of had 2 distinct eras. There's the jerk era, part of that golden age of 70s comedy,
right?
That, like, cutting edge, edgy, observational, pushing boundaries comedy that a lot of the comedians that we watched in movies in the 80s came from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like to call that the young kids are not going to understand the Steve Martin cameo in the Muppets style of comedy.
Yes. And then you have the Father of the Bride era of Steve Martin.
That's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you don't know his jerk era very
well. I know wild and crazy guy stuff, some of that stuff, but I would say that I was more in tune with the stuff that came in the late 80s, early 90s of Steve Martin.
What about the Ed Grimley era of Martin Short?
No.
I bring it up only, and I'll hand Alexis back her show in just a second, but I bring it up because when we get to the finale, Steve Martin reminds you who the fuck he is. He is an 80-some-odd-year-old man. He kind of plays Charles's doddering, but Steve Martin don't take no mess, and he was a bad motherfucker in his day.
Mm-hmm.
If all you know is the father of the bride stuff, he's like, everybody's perfect, dad. He's just has this unassuming charm about him. But during the jerk era, oof.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Steve Martin walks the streets of Baltimore, but Steve Martin could throw down, and he didn't take no mess. He's a tough dude, and he can definitely turn on the intensity, the hostile intensity when he wants to. So I like seeing that part of him come back.
Charles did reference The Wire this season too, right there at the end.
He did. I fucking laughed. I just fell down laughing. I was like,
it made my notes. I was like, oh, this has got to go. This has got to be.
Yeah, it's like they know Mark is watching. They have to throw in a reference to The Wire.
Validated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yes, we have our three characters. Charles is a retired actor whose big hit was playing a detective on a show called Bravos. Oliver is I'm sorry? Brazos. Sorry, you're right. I mixed the letter there. Martin Short is Oliver. He is a mostly failed Broadway producer who is best known for saying, "Hey, wouldn't it be great if we put Splash on a stage?" It didn't work. Selena Gomez is Mabel, a Gen Zer. Yes, you had it right the first time. Who was originally kind of squatting in her aunt's rundown apartment. Like I said, ends up befriending these two guys. And she's the one who really is searching for an identity. She doesn't know exactly what she wants to do with her life. We know she's an amazing artist, but she hasn't quite figured out what her direction is yet. So let's go ahead and start with season 4 here. Like I said, they get optioned for a podcast. They are contacted by Molly Shannon, playing Bev Malone, and they are immediately flown out to Hollywood, where we get the first wave of the avalanche of celebrities in this season. Because I don't know if someone in the studio said, let's bring in more celebrities, or if all of these actors just simultaneously called Disney and said, we want in, because we have so many stars.
I am convinced between Martin Short and Steve Martin, a lot of friends called them and said, can I please be on your show?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like that doesn't happen to me. And so can you imagine if you're Steve Martin or Martin Short?
Yeah. What do you mean? Doesn't that happen to Dorian all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, so they find out that the three actors that are going to play them in the film are Eugene Levy, Ava Longoria, and Zach Galifianakis. Okay, so I think Galifianakis was the biggest surprise for me, because I've seen him in only a few movies, and frankly, I have never been a fan of his. I am not a fan of the man-baby comedy style that he does, where he is just a child.
There are days when I've done just enough drugs and drank enough that I think Zach Galifianakis and Jack Black are the same guy.
He needs to grow his beard out a little bit more, but yes.
Yeah.
But this was definitely a different turn for him. I think there is a lot of fun with an actor playing a fictionalized version of themselves, which is what we get here. Although I swear Eugene Levy is not really okay. Ava Longoria and Zach Galifianakis, I have no doubt, are playing fictionalized versions of themselves. Eugene Levy, I think he just walked on set and he was like, "So what I do?" And they're like, "Be yourself."
Yeah. I mean, it came across as genuine, and I just was like, "This might actually be what he does." You never know.
I mean, he is a contemporary of Steve Martin and Martin Short, so he's got to also be in his 80s. You don't when you're in your 80s and you're a professional actor and you've had the legacy of Martin, Short, and Levy, you don't ask them to do anything. You take what they give you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we got Ava Longoria, who I love just the lame excuse of like, oh, we decided to age Mabel up. And she is just so cocky, so annoying, just so self-promoting.
Yes, all elite. She's elite. She's going to be having dinner with Michelle Obama later, and it's like, oh my gosh. But I mean, it's almost believable.
Almost. Admittedly, I have, again, my only knowledge of Ava Longoria is from a few seasons of Desperate Housewives. Don't judge me. I know that she did her, her directorial debut, I think it was last year, about the Latino worker who developed the super hot Cheetos. Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
That's right. Yeah, she directed
Flamin' Hot?
Flamin' Hot. Yeah, Robert and I. Yeah, that's the movie that sent Robert into the tizzy. That landed at he hated Unfrosted, and it's all Ava Longoria's fault.
That answers that question, because I was going to ask. I couldn't remember if you guys reviewed it or not. I know you talked about it a couple of times.
We paired Flamin' Hot with the Chris Hemsworth movie, the second one, where he's that was made my top 10.
Like Extradition or The Extractor or something like that?
Yeah,
Extraction 2 or
yeah.
Okay.
Extraction 2. So yeah, so that was a Damn You Hollywood where we did two streaming movies. It was Flamin' Hot and Extraction 2. And Robert lost his fucking mind with Flamin' Hot.
Okay, so that was Robert's breakdown number 5.
Yeah. I for my money, I thought she did a fine enough job telling this rags to riches Latino, pull yourself by your own bootstrap story. I did not lose my mind on that one.
Fair enough. And yeah, Zach Galifianakis, who has been asked to play Oliver. And again, it's clear that he is not in love with this role. He's mad at his agent for booking him. He doesn't really know what he's going to do with it. He doesn't think this is going to be a fun job. And he clearly is not respectful of Oliver, especially since Oliver has no idea who the hell he is. So again, this is an actor who we all have often seen playing very whiny man baby roles in The Hangover and Due Date, and I can't even remember the one where he is like a political candidate running against, I think it's Will Ferrell. I can't even remember the name of it. I just remember watching the trailer and he shows up and he's talking like this with a very high-pitched Southern voice. And I immediately said, there's no way in hell I'm watching that. So this is a very different role for him. But again, I like seeing these actors play parodies of themselves. There is something to be said about an actor who is confident enough and probably charismatic enough that when you say, we want you to be you, but we want you to be an asshole.
Oh, yeah. Take it up to 11. Right.
Yeah, I mean, how would you guys react if someone said, okay, be you, but be a jerk?
Mm-hmm. Mark's like, wow, you giving me permission? All right.
Yeah, I feel like Jamie from Ted Lasso. So I could be a prick? No, you can be a prick sometimes when it is appropriate.
But again, we have our second wave of celebrities, and that is the first batch of the suspects, because every season we start off with we start off first with the usual suspects who we find out have nothing to do with this before it is we suddenly figure out who the actual killer is, and this is the Westies. Now, this actually, every time they said that actually killed me inside, because Westie is also the name, a shorter version of a West Highland Terrier. Those they look like white Scotties. My parents have owned Westies for like the last 15 to 20 years. So every time they say we're going to go talk to the Westies, I think about those little white dogs.
Richard Kind also is known for kind of being, the comedy relief or, doddering, sometimes foppish. Like, I don't think he's gone full queer, but like Richard Kind has definitely been one of these actors where they want him to kind of throw himself down the stairs and act, not particularly masculine. And he has a moment in this season where it was a small thing, but because I'm me, it rang out. When he figures out they think they're onto the Westies. They think that he realizes they know they're cashing Dudenoff's checks. He doesn't know. Yeah, he doesn't know they think that they're the murderers, but either way, Richard Kind of has this, like, the mask falls off, the foppishness goes away, and he's like, they know. I'm like, oh God. Like,
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
As soon as they walk into, like, I think it's the next episode when they walk into the apartment and everybody's like, oh yeah, let's play some cards. And then they all get in there and he's like, shut the door.
Shut it, lock it, pull out the knife.
Yeah, he transitions to menacing weirdly efficiently.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely. Yeah. I love Richard Kind. He does not get enough respect, I think, as an actor. He does play it very foppish, very silly. I think one of my favorite roles of his is a voiceover job, and that is Inside Out. He played
I would have bet money on that.
if his character's okay, I don't want to call it a death, but there's another. If his character's death did not make you tear up a little bit inside,
Sure.
yeah, he voices the girl's imaginary friend.
Bing bong.
Bing bong. That's it.
That's
and
right.
it's a great. He carries it with a weight. It's like I love what I've done. I love this child, but I have to carry the weight that she doesn't need me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like he's proud of what he did, and he still loves the child, but he knows he can never have what he used to have, and there's a tragedy.
Sure.
To his vocal performance.
What is a life without purpose? What is a life without purpose?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've always thought he was great. He is really funny. He has kind of it is a little foppish. He's got a kind of a bit of a lisp to his voice.
He doesn't sound like a particularly tough man. He sounds like the kind of man who's ripe for a mugging. But that's what makes his turn so effective. Because that's just sort of his natural speaking voice. But when he kind of focuses and he's just like, no, it's time to be an angry man. You're like, oh, geez. It's like if you've ever had like a dad or an uncle who that most of the time they are as soft as dandelions, but you piss them off just right. And you don't know they have this side of them. And you see their mean side the first time. You're like, oh, I like to shit my pants.
Whoa.
That was kind of Richard Kind for me.
We also have Kumail Nanjiani, who has shown up a couple of times on this. Most recently, we talked about him in Welcome to Chippendales, where he played the lead, who plays Rudy / Christmas All the Time guy, and he just made me laugh. I love the speech he gives when he is confronted by Mabel and Ava Longoria as Ma Belle, because she's trying to get into her character, which means she's trying to create this new version of Mabel that is nothing like Mabel whatsoever. And they confront him about his love of Christmas. He's like, what are you talking about? I hate Christmas. And just his breakdown, not to mention the scene of him raising his shirt, showing his abs, to which I said, well, at least now we finally get to see all the work you put in for the Eternals since your shirtless scenes were cut.
I'm glad you mentioned the Eternals because I just want to say this one thing about him. Utterly wasted in Eternals because I'm now realizing, and it was his performance in this show that pushed me over the line. He's an extremely talented actor, and I think I think he can do it all. I think he can do action. I think he can do comedy. I think he can do drama. I think he can do romance. I think he's an actor's actor, and they didn't use any of that for the Eternals. You know,
I know
it's a real shame.
I know him best from Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've seen that, but he, that's where he first landed on my radar. And then, Eternals didn't do him any favors, I don't think. I think he was doing great.
Well, the abs thing I remember because when they were doing promos for the Eternals, they showed the video, or not a video, but it was a photo of him getting ready for the role, and he had gotten shredded. You know, I mean, you guys remember like how the whole thing when Chris Pratt lost his the belly he had for his character of Andy to play Star-Lord, and it was like, whoa, now he's shredded. It's like, I was like, holy crap, he got in crazy shape. And then you watch the Eternals, like, yeah, they totally wasted that because you don't see how good a shape he's in.
Right.
You know? So when he lifted his shirt, I'm like, okay, good. All that working out was not in vain. You still got the abs. You still look amazing. But he does play a fun character. We also have our family who lives next to them. What the hell? Alfonso, Inez, and Anna, which I'm just going to say, you guys cast Daphne Rubin Vega and you wasted her.
Okay,
that woman is...
I don't know who the fuck this person is.
She's the wife who's playing cards with them.
No, I know that, but I don't know who she is outside of the show.
Among other things, one of the original cast members for Rent on Broadway.
Oh, then I agree with you. She's completely wasted here.
Yeah, she's also the voice of
Wow.
Camilla Carmine on Has Been Hotel. She was in In the Heights. She was the salon owner in the Heights.
Oh, okay.
She is Broadway royalty. And when I saw she was cast, I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. I wasn't expecting her to like break out in song or something, but still, she's a great actress. I was looking forward to it. I'm like, wow, you guys have Daphne Rubin Vega and you don't freaking use her.
I mean, I would say it's either her agent was like, do this because it's a paid gig and you need to work, or she's trying to get out of a pigeonhole, because if she's Broadway royalty, nobody might be seeing her as anything else. She's like, so do this and be funny, and maybe you'll get something a little bit better, a little bit meatier.
I agree. They could have used her, maybe just at least showcased her talents a little bit more. But my goodness, you got to think about everybody that's in this season, and like what ones you're going to give those shining moments on the screen for, because there's so many. But yeah, I feel like I agree with you. They probably could have used her a little bit, just let her do something. But she was just kind of like the wife, and that's kind of all you get, really. I mean, that's play a little bit of Oh Hell, and that was all.
Yeah, I mean, you have Richard Kennedy and Kamal Nanjiani doing great, and we spend most of the time with them. Although that does beg the question, did we spend too much time with the Westies? Because we are building them up, although, of course, those of us who have watched the show, we know they are not the killers. Because, like I said, the first ones who are investigated are never guilty. But we spend so much time getting to know them and this backstory with this film professor and how they are living for pennies on the dollar in this gorgeous apartment.
We're 4 seasons into this show. We know Oliver. The only one that's still kind of growing as a character enough to keep me interested is Selena Gomez. But Selena Gomez started as not a very interesting character to begin with. So whatever. And then, Steve Martin, he showed range, but I would not say growth this season. So if you don't start introducing characters into the show that you can follow and spend time with and see change and grow, I'm already at a point where I know it was renewed for another season, but I'm kind of, I'll keep coming back to review it with you for as long as it's on, because it's not like it's lost me, but it definitely needs fresh blood. It needs new characters, and so I vote on this island that we spent an efficient amount of time with these people, given that I'm a little bored with our main cast members. Which brings me to Meryl Streep, who I said last season was an inspiration and a revelation, and she continues to give the most interesting performance of anyone in this cast. And it's all subtle, and it's all in the shoulders. She does stuff with her shoulders and her torso that I don't think most actors realize is exquisite performance. Meryl Streep is a class in acting all on her own. She is fucking phenomenal in this. And you would think you would say that in a haughty performance, something that with a lot more gravitas than the dingy broad she plays in this one. But god damn it, she's so good.
Absolutely is. Although I will say I did not expect to have to mark Meryl Streep gets into a fight with Melissa McCarthy on my 2024 bingo card.
That is every woman I knew growing up on Long Island.
I forgot. Oh my god! I completely forgot that's where you grew up.
Long Island, I started to sweat because I know where Patchogue is. I know Suffolk County, and that woman with that hairdo, I was like, that is why I left. That is why I left. I say she's 50% of the women I knew, because the other 50% are all black. So,
okay, all right.
Yeah. I will agree with you, Meryl. I'm glad Meryl Streep was back. She was only in a handful of episodes, but she was awesome. She was funny. I love the chemistry she has with Martin Short. They are so adorable together.
Yeah.
When she proposes to him and they fall back on the couch bed, I don't know what the hell that was, and they're kissing, and he says, "Oh, I accept." It's like, oh my god, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life.
My other favorite thing, and I think in the same episode, is when she finally does bring Melissa McCarthy down, and she gets up. She's like, "Oh, I want to fight." It was like a meat. It's funny to see a meathead thing come out of that woman's mouth. Hey, since we're talking about characters, you already said her, but I didn't know if you were going to double back on this. And if I don't say it, I will feel like I have wasted my time on the show tonight. Molly Shannon is my favorite character this season. Molly Shannon doesn't just look like she's having the time of her life. She really gives good performance here. And like every time she spoke, every interaction that she had, especially when she's in the house and she's lost her fucking mind when they were at the sister.
Oh yeah.
Oh my, like I kind of hate a lot of SNL people because they tend to just act too big and they can't ever seem to turn it off. Well, Ferrell. But
it works on Saturday Night Live. It doesn't work.
That's my point,
movies.
though.
Yeah.
It's like they never stop being Saturday Night Live people. But for whatever reason, this was the right. Whoever was directing her or whatever her natural inclinations were, molded her just right. This season, she is pitch perfect, and she is one of the most entertaining people in this season. I loved Molly Shannon.
I refuse to believe she wasn't basing that performance on at least one or two people she probably has known all too well in Hollywood. There is a hint, especially the scene after the shooting at the photo shoot, where it's revealed that she stole Galifianakis's pain meds. So she's clearly a little on the high side, and she's talking about about what is going on. It's like there is a hint in her eyes, like, you're basing this on someone.
I feel like she's doing Amy Pascal from Sony. But I could not possibly be certain about that. The low-hanging fruit is to say she's doing Kathleen Kennedy, but that's because, old white men hate her. So my vote is
everyone hates Kathleen Kennedy.
Girls don't hate Kathleen Kennedy. They don't know who she is. No, it's just old. Shut up. It's just old white men. However, there's just something. It's a disturbance in the force. I don't know what to call it, but something makes me feel like she's doing Amy Pascal from Sony.
Possibly, like I said, just the way that she was kind of like folding in on herself and talking like this. I was like, this is a parody of someone. This is an impersonation of at least two people, probably. So. Yeah, like I said, we've got just a freaking avalanche of celebrities, and we're not even talking about some of the others who show up. Like freaking Ron Howard makes an appearance.
The return of Paul Rudd, but as Glenn Stubbins. That was good stuff. And him coming in there and like being this crazy wackadoo stunt man. And I was like, I'm never going to get tired of Paul Rudd. I just am not. And
I love it when Marvel people remind people that they can act.
Yeah.
It's like that man is a national treasure, and I am not just saying that because he is from my hometown.
I hope he figures out, or they figure out a way to bring him back in season 5 somehow, like
As
somebody
character.
Yes.
character. That would be so great.
That would be hilarious because when when he threw himself in the dumpster behind concussions, I loved it every time he mentioned the rats that he saw, even in the hospital. It's like, can I get a room without? I can't do Irish without the rats. It's like, oh my god.
Hey, I'll never say film the same way again. It's a film. I want to check out the film. So I thank you, Paul Rudd.
Definitely. And going back to what you had said earlier about the Westies, Mark, I will actually agree with you, but only on one contingency, that they come back next season. If we built them up this much and we spend no time with them in season 5, then it was too much.
Did we? I was just going to say, is Mabel going to be staying in that empty apartment over there? Because that's probably the
hook.
Yeah, that's how we're going to be seeing them a lot.
I want to link what you're asking, what we're talking about, to another point that I have to bring up before I have to go, and that is the building is a character in this show, and if we're not killing people in the building, we're not really doing the show. And that was one of my criticisms of the 3rd season was we got away from the building. And it's, and then this one, they brought it back, and I'm hoping, with having the blood coming out of the fountain and the security guard dead in the fountain, that we're gonna, they don't forget that a draw of this show is killing people in the Arcadia. With that said, I almost think they have to bring the Westies back because, again, I think you're right, Jesse. I think Mabel lives over there now. I think we have to. Don't leave the building per se. Don't do what they did in season 3, but they have to make the building bigger.
Okay.
Definitely. And that does lead to what our questions are about season 5. So can I just say that shot of them walking past the fountain before they see the body and we can see the water coming out of it is red. It's like, that is horror movie haunting level shit. That was impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Really good stuff. But okay, so every season ends with the murder they're going to investigate in the next season. And this one, it is the Lester, their poor doorman, who has been there for them since the beginning. He's always been a friendly face. I didn't need to hear about him modeling for Robert Mapplethorpe. That actually made me do a verbal ha sound, which woke up my husband, who was taking a nap at the time.
The only reason I knew who Robert Mapplethorpe is because there's a horrible video game about Robert Mapplethorpe's flowers. Like, all it is just pictures of his flowers that were on the CDI. Nah, maybe the CDI. Anyway, none of you guys have any idea what I'm talking about, probably. But that's the only reason why I knew that dude's name, was because of that horrible video game about flowers.
Yeah, I studied a little bit of his stuff in art history, and it's like, nope. I do not need any more mental images of that man's photography. Thank you very much.
That bad, huh?
Lots of dick and balls?
Lots of dick and balls.
Oh, my.
Okay.
Oh, my.
Yeah, there's a Family Guy joke about him that's actually pretty accurate.
Fair enough.
But anyway, so our season ends with Oliver and Loretta getting married, and it's a very cute ceremony. And as Charles and Mabel are going upstairs to rest after the wedding, we are approached by Sophia Cacamello, I think is how she pronounces her last name. I am just reading here because I cannot honestly. I just watched this episode like less than an hour ago, and I already can't remember how it's pronounced. Played by the former Mrs. David Duchovny, Miss Tay Leone.
Tay Leone, that's right.
Hey, Jesse. Tay Leone.
I agree.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
Ava Longoria got a for me this season. I was like, okay, I'm a fan.
As much as I like the Hispanics, me and my thing with Selma Hayek. She's not quite Callie Thorne for me.
Oh, however, I understand.
Tay Leone is on the Callie Thorne list.
Okay. I will admit she has aged incredibly well. I just hope her acting has gotten better since Jurassic Park 3. Sorry, she was terrible in that. So,
that whole movie was terrible. I don't blame Tay Leone is a perfectly fine actress and a beautiful woman. Don't you disparage my Taya?
Okay,
fine actress.
I will admit, I thought that this whole thing leading up to it was, if there was more hints about it dropped and I just totally missed it, that's possible, because I admit occasionally I'm an idiot. But she plays the wife of a gangster, I think it is, who has gone missing recently. And the only time we have heard about him missing is when Mabel goes to the hospital to check on Glenn, finds out he's been killed by our killer, and she looks over the nurse's shoulder and sees a news report saying that this mobster is missing. And I remember saying back going, was that important for something else? Was that leading into another character that I've already completely forgotten about? Because if it's not, then I have no idea why they thought that was a good way to blend in these two stories.
Yeah, the show definitely does a lot of layered writing. And I think it's one of those where I do myself a disservice if I just have it on in the background or if I'm watching it while I'm doing stuff on my computer, because you miss a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. That was one of the hard things for me this season. I mean, I watched it pretty well straight through. I wasn't paying too much attention to my phone. And there were some times where I was like, what the fuck is going on now? What? I don't understand. Okay, I know. Okay, I then I can watch the recap for the next episode. They pull it all together for me. So there were plenty of times where I felt like I was kind of left in the dust. And that was one of the that was kind of one of the detriments to this season, because it just felt like there was just so much going on, and I was trying to figure out what direction they were pointing at. So number one, I could understand, okay, that's not what I'm supposed to be looking at, and number two, get the joke at the same time, because obviously there was something there too. But that was one of the hard things for me. I still enjoyed what I was watching, but it was tough to figure out where everybody was going and why they jumped to the conclusions that they did.
The show's a little too in love with its own dialogue and its own character interactions, and it's too cute by half. So like there's a lot I like about the show. I'm not necessarily slamming the show, but it's not perfect, and that's a big problem I have with it. We're 4 seasons into this, and I had it on while I was cooking at one point. Like, I was looking down playing a video game on my phone while I'm watching the show, because, and that's what I mean. Like, the show at times loses me because we're a little too, like, for example, we're a little too in love with Oliver. Like, you could tell in the writing and in the production, they want to use Oliver Luck because Martin Short is hilarious. But it's like, all right, we get it. Like, either service the plot and move this on or do something else. But no, we want Oliver to do more Oliver stuff because he's fucking funny. And it's like, all right, but now I'm bored. That's the problem there.
Definitely. So Sophia approaches Charles and Mabel and says she wants them to investigate her husband's disappearance. And when they say, well, we only investigate murders that are in this building, which
is hilarious. That's hilarious. Yes. That's funny that came out of somebody's mouth. Like that happens all the time. Okay, go ahead.
Enough that we have enough material for a yearly podcast.
Yeah. To which Sophia says, trust me, everything about my husband's disappearance is wrapped up in this building, but they still say, not interested. Good luck with your search. And that leads us to the next morning, where they're walking after Loretta has headed out to New Zealand to continue her acting career. And they come across poor Lester's body in the fountain. One of the other things, and again, I'm trying to figure out if this was explained and I missed it, or if it is something they're building up. We find out this season that someone has been spying. Not only has someone been spying on our 3 main protagonists, but there's a lot of stuff from the first 2 couple seasons that were never explained, as Saz had called them, plot holes. Mm-hmm. Which it's hilarious when the actors pull out the murder board and actually point out, it's like, what, you guys never figured this stuff out? So we know that there was someone that's going on there, but I don't think it was our killer, Rex or Marshall, whatever he wanted to call himself. It wasn't revealed who was doing all this.
No, it's funny because I was going to bring this up, and I just, for the simple fact that I don't know where we went with that. So I assume that it wasn't, and we're going to learn more about all. I was really impressed originally, because I was like, oh, they're tying all this stuff back to the first season. They've had this all thought out that long. I don't know if they did or not, but regardless, it was neat to see them do that and pull that stuff from the first season into the 4th and talk about how this stuff had not been addressed. So I don't think it has. I mean, Mark, unless there's something you saw while you were cooking.
I got nothing to contribute here.
All right. Good job. That's about as much as I got.
Yeah. So part of me is wondering if that was building up, because we know that Saz she said there was another murderer in the building. And this was before, obviously, the whole thing with Rex. And this was before the film professor committed suicide. So there is something else going on. And I'm kind of wondering if maybe season 5 if this is building up to maybe the final season. Maybe there is like a serial killer hiding in the Arconia somewhere, that we've seen the whole time.
So you mentioned serial killer, and I have to talk about my another girl on my list, Amy Ryan. Amy Ryan has this very girl next door, unassuming sort of presentation, and I laughed my fucking. It's a total me moment. Jesse knows. Jesse might even know what I'm about to say, but it's at the very end when she saves the day and kills Marshall, and then they go back over to the apartment, and she has an exchange with Charles, and she was just like, "So I don't really like shooting him. I'd rather would have just stabbed him with the knife." It goes and
Knife in the eye.
yeah, and like shaking, really messing around in there, and like I was like smirking because she does it in a very like weirdo sensual way, and that's exactly Steve Martin's reaction.
That's what he says.
Why does everything you say sound so sexual? He's like, I'm so aroused, and I'm just like, I'm with Steve Martin. Like, and it's so funny. They have such good chemistry and such good interaction together.
Yeah.
And she has this innocent looking face, but they gave her this character that's going crazier by the season, and it's hilarious fun to watch. Like Amy. Like it's so funny. I look at a lot of the stuff we do with On Damn You Hollywood, and Robert and I kind of remark about how tightly controlled these things are, and there's not a lot of bravery. People aren't really allowed to go for it. I've actually made that comment recently, where I think that we're losing the element of Hollywood where actors are really allowed to just go for it because people making these movies, there's too much money invested, and they don't. And everything has to be safe. So everything kind of stays at a 5. If you're doing a 1 if you're on Crackoon, but no one's really going for 10 anymore either. Everyone's just staying at a safe 5, and it feels like here because it's a streaming show. It's legacy actors. I don't know how much is just tied into it. It seems like there's a lot of freedom to just let the artists make art, and characters really go for it. And Amy Ryan really doing something with that performance in that scene was awesome. It's one of the reasons why I'll keep watching this, because because as much as there might be a lot of bread in dough in the pie that I'm not really interested in. See 2 minutes ago with whatever the hell you two were talking about.
The actual like a big part of the plot.
Yeah, who gives a fuck? I'm here for the fruit. I'm here for the gooey fruit that is Amy making a sexual thing out of stabbing a guy.
It's all that's what kind of keeps me in it too, is that it's very entertaining.
Yeah,
it's entertaining, and it even though I was kind of lost this season, I was still having fun, like watching these guys have to deal with the actors that are portraying them, and that whole thing was hilarious.
Oh yeah, like that antagonist would like interact with it, kind of biting each other.
Yes.
That's good fun to watch. Like don't get me wrong, I mentioned it before with Martin Short. His Oliver character is hilarious, and he says some funny ass shit. He's got some real gems this season. I just I need other stuff too.
Sure.
Definitely. No, I'm with you. And making a note here, Mark loves crazy. Okay, good to know.
Again, do we need to discuss my dating life?
I was going to say, again, do we need to make a note? Because I think it's just well known.
No, I still remember your comments about the lead girl from when we reviewed Hysteria.
Yeah. That's going to be the future ex-Mrs. Rattle. I'll just tell you that right now.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, Jesse, watch Hysteria and just the blonde at the end with the eyes, and then come back to me. You know what I'm talking about, baby. Carrie Thorne and McNulty on a folding chair, baby.
Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is the reveal. So, Mark, one of the things we talked about with season 3 was whether or not we thought that that season was easier to figure out. Now, Jesse, how quickly did you figure out who the killer? Did you figure out who the killers were early on? Or?
No. I mean, as funny as this show is, the misdirection works on me every time, I think. So I think I'm an idiot, but I don't think they make it obvious either. So, like I had no idea who killed Paul Rudd's character in, what was that, season 3? Season 3. And
wait, which character? He's now the only actor to get killed off twice in 2 different seasons.
I know who. I had no idea this season for sure. I had no clue, and they did a great job. Of course, like when we were flashing back to Saz getting him geared up for this stunt, and of course he's all dressed in black and a mask over him, so it was just like, hey guys, oh yeah, this is the person, but you're never going to see him because we got to keep the mystery there. So yeah, a lot of times I'm clueless as to who in the hell it is because I'm easily misdirected, I think.
I'm just a simple Appalachian man with his
Perfect.
Appalachian wife.
I'm gonna. We just watch his shows on that TV.
When we come in from the coal mines of West Virginia.
I was out there, and I decided to watch some tube.
What about you, Mark? What did you think of the mystery and the reveal of who the killer was?
I liked. Again, I don't try to figure out the murder mysteries. I know that's kind of half the fun for some people, but I want to tell me your story, and I'll and make it interesting enough with enough gooey fruit and jewels for me to keep me invested. But I'll go for the ride, and I'll answer your question by saying I really liked the motivations in the story that the killer told. I liked where he was coming from. That's not to say I'm sympathetic. I'm sympathetic about his cause. He's a dirty rat, and I'm glad he was killed in the end. But I think it's a well told story. I think he had interesting and good motivation. I don't. The actress whose name escapes me, I keep wanting to say Beverly D'Angelo, and I know that's not right.
The actress played Saz.
Yeah,
Jane Lynch.
Yeah, I don't like Jane Lynch. But I don't like Jane Lynch because I don't like her character from Glee, of which I saw just enough episodes to know I hate that character. But I mean, I don't like that character in that show. I don't like that character in anything, the kind of character that Jane Lynch played. And I typically don't like Jane Lynch because she's another actress who they just want her to play the Glee character in everything she does. And I genuinely like her in this show. She was okay for the first 3 seasons, the little bit that they did use her. But here, they really gave her character more depth and dimension. And suddenly, I buy that Jane Lynch is a good actress. Like, they gave her some, not gravitas, but they gave her, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but they definitely gave her a lot more depth.
Yeah.
And she pulled it off, and I was sympathetic towards her. And I was genuinely sad to see what happens to her, which is not something I felt in any of the seasons before. Like, I didn't care that Paul Rudd died. I don't remember who died.
He was a crappy person.
That's the thing. Like, the first 3 seasons, I'm interested in our protagonist. I'm not interested in our victim. For the first time in 4 seasons, I was very interested in the victim, and I felt bad about what happened, and I wanted the villain to get his in the end to avenge this poor woman's death, who didn't deserve it. So good on them, good for writing, and she gives good performance.
Definitely. Not to mention, one of the things we kicked around and was a major plot theme for this season was whether or not she was the actual target.
Right.
We talked about how, it was dark. She was dressed in Charles's same outfit, the same clothes she was always seen wearing. And we discussed, was that bullet meant for her or for Charles?
Right.
And again, they talk about that in this season. But I am really glad, as weird as it sounds, that she was the target. I'm glad that we made it about her, so we could really get to flesh out her character.
Last thing I want to say before I have to start to wrap here. I really enjoyed Steve Martin this season in terms of his connection to Zaz. Like, loyalty, and this should be no surprise, especially in the last couple of days. Loyalty is kind of everything to me. I'll forgive a lot of other shit personality quirks, Robert. Because if people are loyal and dependable in my life, and the kind of loyalty that, like, Steve Martin sort of has some self-reflection throughout the season, and and it drives him to avenge her murder because he realizes what an important person she was to him. And due to loyalty and dedication and brotherhood, essentially, he is on a mission to solve this, and nothing's getting in his way. And I really like that. Like, we talk about sort of traditional values and the importance of them in art, and I think the show, for as much as it's about a lot of people who you wouldn't necessarily describe as traditional or conservative, I think the show has a fair amount of traditional and conservative themes and values. And I'll tell you, it's what keeps me coming back.
Absolutely. I would also like to point out, believe this is also the first season that we have one more person who gets top credit during the opening animation credits, and that is Michael Cyril Crichton as Howard Morris. He is no longer a recurring character; he is part of the main cast now, and I do. He is another character who has really grown.
Is he the gay one, the one with the dog?
And
yes,
the pig and the cat.
Oh
and
my god, he has the saddest funny line this season. He was just like, "I'm a sad boy," and I was like, "Ouch, that hurts." Hey, real quick, just so I get this out in case you don't have a chance to get back to me. Oliver's line to Steve Martin when they're on the ledge, and he kind of has that moment where he's thinking about Zaz, and he's been hallucinating throughout the season due to grief and other stuff that was going on. And he kind of has that like psychosomatic thing that he thinks it's Zaz tapping him, and it's actually Oliver. And he's like, "What? Now you have two 80-year-old men on a ledge on a skyscraper," and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing out here?" And I'll tell you, the show should not evoke this sort of emotion, but because of who I am and what it meant, it did. He was like, "Charles, I am your ride or die." I was like, See, you don't have to be in a foxhole with a machine gun next to a soldier to say something like that. It can just be brothers who have each other's back. I love that. And Martin Short as foppish and queer coded as Oliver tends to be. Like, I am your ride or die, and I was like, brotherhood. At that point it was the old gay New York equivalent of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers and
doing the
yeah. It was that moment.
Got you pushing pencils. Yeah. I do love the scene in the prior episode when they go to that Chinese restaurant and Charles comes clean about how he feels like he's kind of getting left behind by Oliver because he's getting married. He obviously can't keep hanging out with Mabel. And I just love just the Barrett's like, I have no other friends. You are my best friend, and I am worried about you moving on to this next chapter in your life. And I love the way they talk to each other about that. And just that line about it's like, we'll go get colonoscopies together.
It's good stuff.
It is.
Friendship and companionship is important, especially as we get older and, your family moves away. If you got kids move away. And I like that the show deals with it in its like quirky way.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So I know that you need to get out of here, Mark. I know you got other things to do. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about? Anything else you wanted to drop before you need to get out of here?
Is there anything you wanted to ask or anything you want to get my take on before I go?
Well, the only other note I had on here, so talked about the murder, talked about the plot holes. Thank you for confirming that I'm not crazy. I do want to see where that's going. If that's going to be a season or a series finale thing, we're going to find out who has been, kind of pulling the strings all along in the Arconia, why this is the murder building. But I want to ask, who do you think had the best growth as a character? Because we got Charles, who is dealing with the death of probably his oldest, dearest friend, Saz. We see him mourning. We see him coming to grips with the fear that he was never there for her, the worry about what he can do for her now that she's gone. We have Oliver, who is coping with Loretta's success, and he's really worried about, where things are going with that. He gets adorably insecure about what is clearly a promo picture of her with her TV character's love interest.
Was it Junk or whatever his name was?
Yeah. And we have Mabel, who I think was going kind of through an imposter syndrome kind of thing. When they talk about wanting to buy her life rights, she is clearly, my life is not interesting enough for a check for life rights. She talks about how she doesn't really know what she does and what she wants to do. And she feels not out of place so much, but just like, again, I think it's imposter syndrome. She just doesn't feel like she belongs up there. So whose character growth did you think was the best handled this season?
I think the character I feel like the show is about Mabel. Oliver and Charles get a lot of play. Don't get me wrong, and because Steve Martin I think gets top billing, and then Martin Short, and then Selena Gomez. But if you ask me, who is the show really about, though? Who is our protagonist that goes on a journey and has the most growth? It's Mabel. Mabel is so lost when we meet her, and so it's so funny because like having. Not that I want to go A on a tangent and B have this big of an ego, but indulge me for a moment. If I ever have like a daydream about like if they ever did my life, the life of Mark Radulich and the Radulich Broadcasting Network, the movie, and how I would be portrayed on screen, like what elements of my character are visible to the average person that would make up my character, and they describe her as mumbling millennial, like. As a person with feelings, that sucks. That hurts. Like, we're not just one or two qualities. We are a full range of things and anxieties and problems and everything else. And that's what she got reduced to. And I felt that for her. And when she has that conversation with Eva Longoria, and she was like, you're looking at this all wrong, kiddo. Like, you have an opportunity here. They need you more than you need them. So take them for whatever it is you need to do the things you want to do in life. And she goes through this whole laundry list of things that she wanted to do. And the way the lines that they gave Eva Longoria to read are 100% right. You take the opportunities to give yourself opportunities. You come on the podcast so that other people will see you and want you on theirs or want you to do something for them. That's why you do these things. And sometimes the gig itself is meh, but so what? If it's not experience, it's something else. And so when she says, ask him for a shit ton of money, and with that money, go start your life, go do something, go dig for your passions and make your passions a reality. And I'm like, words to live by, Eva Longoria. And then she does. She doesn't sit on her hands. She doesn't hem and haw about it for 6 more episodes. She works right up to Molly Shannon, pulls her dick out, and throws it on the table, and says, there it is. That's what I want. You look at my dick. And I was like, perfect. Good. Her closeness with Steve Martin and Martin Short's character grows every season. And you truly see, like, these people love each other. Again, not in the strictest romantic sense, but they love each other as brothers. Mm-hmm. And I love that. I think it's a good, strong message. It's something that continues to draw me into the show. It's weird because she's not the most interesting written of characters, but she has the most interesting, the beefiest, I think, character arc. And so I'll be curious to see what they do with her, because I almost feel like her journey is over now. She found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So thank God for the Westies, because we need to kind of focus on a new character. But we'll see. Maybe maybe her story isn't totally told, and the next season she'll have more growth and go on another arc. We'll see. I couldn't tell you, but yeah, I think it's Mabel's show. I think it's always been Mabel's show. It's always been Mabel, Jesse. It's always been Mabel.
Oh boy.
And she does have really good chemistry with the Westies. Again, God, it still feels so weird saying that because of the damn dogs.
It's like a table full of dogs playing poker.
Yeah, pretty much. So, all right. Well, hey, I know you got shits to do, so I think Jesse and I will wrap this up if that's okay, and you can go ahead and get on with your life, and I will talk to you next week.
All right. Bye, guys.
Later.
All right. Have a good night, man.
Nope. Wrong guy.
He tried to get rid of you first.
Wait. I'm still here.
Well, what about you, Jesse? Which character growth did you really get into this season?
I would have to say probably, oh boy, I don't know. These three rotate and learn and build off of each other. The characters, so much that it's fun watching all three of them grow. And I know that's a cheap way of kind of saying all three of them. I'd say Steve Martin's character is always the one I've always enjoyed watching, and watching him kind of work through some of in our whole first season, we're learning about, he had a stepdaughter, or I think, or maybe it was just his I can't remember. I think he was married, maybe, but
I think it was a stepdaughter from a previous marriage.
Right. And then, he gets his heart broke, but he's still stuck. He's still trying to work through that. And he's got to work through this. And he finds these two people and he continues to do that. So I've always appreciated watching him try to make steps. Now, I don't think that there was a whole lot of that this season. I mean, he has to work through the fact that his just like Mark said, closest friend got murdered.
Mm-hmm.
He's also worried about himself and his friends because they're being targeted now. So, you kind of watch him try to deal with that bit of trauma and move on from the death of his friend. And that's, and the fact that he is so determined to bring justice to his friend's killer, that he goes out on a ledge to do this. And I've always gravitated. Mabel's a different story for me. I'm not, I'm not been too invested into what she's doing. I feel like she's definitely, as far as she's kind of like on the outskirts of trying to find her place. And these two come along and they are clearly helping her. I think, again, though, I don't believe that the show gives her short shrift in regards to character moments or anything like that. So Steve Martin for me. So that's my answer.
I think what I'll have to say Steve Martin as well. This season also resonated with me with his character growth. Because I've been in a situation a lot where I talked earlier about his little speech with Oliver about how he's getting married and moving on. He's like, I don't want to be the third wheel on your dates. Yeah,
that's
stuff.
Rough. That is rough seeing him actually have to deal with the fact that he just lost his friend, his one friend Saz, and now he's going to lose another one. And that's real stuff right there. I was just thinking about this earlier, and I imagine you may have had experiences with this, but I've had a really good friend that I grew up with pretty much from 16 all the way to like 30 something. We got married in that time, but the big thing was having kids, and having kids, that kind of definitely you didn't plan on it, but we separated pretty much. I mean, we didn't hardly talk very much. We see each other. We're still good friends and stuff, but we're not having nobody's coming over and playing N64 in the wee hours of the morning after watching wrestling on Monday nights anymore because we're old, we have kids, and there's some of that nonsense has to go away, which means that affects your friendships as well. And that's kind of what happened with me and my buddy. We're good friends, but that there's loss there. I feel a little bit of loss, and I'm sure that Steve Martin's character, I'm sure that Charles feels the same way. He sees his friend is going to get married. That's a big change. That's a very big change. He's going to, he probably fears that he's going to lose him.
And I went through the exact same thing. I do not have kids, don't want them. And I had to deal with all of my friends who decided to have kids. And when they had babies and they were little children, it was fine. But as the kids got older, there was less and less I could really participate with them.
Right.
And it was very hard that all of these, diehard friends of mine who I absolutely adored, it's just like I can't really be part of their life. And I've actually joked before. It's like that's one of the reasons I love being on this podcast with you guys, because it's majority of my artist friends who I work with in the con circuit live all over the country. So I only see them when we work, and we're on winter break. So you're not going to see anyone until March at the earliest.
Right.
And the friends that I've either previously had or have tried to have here in Kansas City all have kids, and their lives revolve around their kids. So it's like, well, I can't really be a part of that. It's very hard to find people that you can hang out with who, if you don't have children, who also don't have children, who are in the same age group and have the same life experiences.
Yeah.
So that's why I brought up that conversation, because he was like, I don't want to be the third wheel. It's like, wow, that hit hard. I know that speech.
Yeah. I don't think it gets easier as you get older either. I mean, I was just listening to a couple guys on another podcast talk about how, some older gentlemen were talking about how they were brought together by some kind of show, if I remember correctly. And what they ended up finding out after the show is that these men really appreciated the fact that they could actually have time to get together with other men and talk about something, and develop a friendship, because they don't normally do that. It's not something that's normally done as you get that old. And I think that's what Martin Short and Steve Martin, their characters are, at the beginning of this series were like. They were just kind of loners, and they went up, did their own thing, and they were fine with that, but they were missing something, and it was this friendship. So, I agree.
Definitely. Well, was there anything else that you want to talk about? Any story arcs, plots, just moments of that?
I've got moments. I've got them on my phone right here. I want to do just like I did for Ash versus Evil Dead.
Go for it. I will say this. I literally did a spit take when they name dropped Ron Howard.
And it's so funny because this show makes you think like we're not going to see Ron Howard. They got his voice, but they're not going to let you see him. No, he's in. You can see his silhouette in the back, and then finally, at the restaurant, Ron.
It's Ron, and it's exactly what Oliver said. It's like for once Oliver wasn't embellishing.
Right. Finally he's telling us an actual story that's true. All right. So I'll go down through. I'm just quick moments each episode. I've just picked one out of my
go ahead.
out of my notes here. So episode 1, my the one that I'm picking out of this one is Zach Gallifragilistic. So episode 2, Permanent Saz Hands, which was just a horrible joke. So bad. He's got ashes all over his hands from where they found her remains,
and he doesn't want to. That's actually so sad. It's like, no, you don't want to. It's like go clean your hands, but that's her, and I don't want to watch her. I'm just like, oh my god, that hurt. That hurt so bad.
It was bad. All right. Episode 3 was where Evan Longoria and Mabel go and talk to the Christmas guy. And Evan Longoria is unhinged when she grabs like the gun on. She's just like, oh, all right, enough of this. Grabs the gun off the wall. That was good. That was a good moment.
I will say this: I didn't recognize it at first, but the minute the gun was off the trophy thing, whatever the display, the minute it was in her hands, I was like, oh god, it's the Red Ryder BB. The minute it was in her hands, I knew what it was. It's like, that's a Red Ryder BB gun. You'll shoot your eye
out. Christmas Story. Episode 4, my first note was, and I'll go with this one. Oliver makes a Finsta, which I had no idea what a Finsta was until I was like, oh, it's a fake Instagram, right? Is that what is that what he's talking about?
I think so. And when he revealed to Loretta that he had made that, I was like, oh no,
stop,
no.
Dude. Don't
like, Oliver.
Anything.
It's like, I know you love this woman, and I know honesty is the foundation of a solid relationship. But if you know what is best for you and your future wife, you will take this secret to the grave. It's like, I don't care how much you love someone. I don't care how long you've been married to them. There are some things we don't tell our spouses.
No kidding. Keep it. Oh my gosh. All right. Episode 5 is when Oliver takes the killer's obstacle course where he's like, okay, he does this in 12 minutes. He's like, I can do it. And then it does it a few things, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure that was John McEnroe that he runs into on the street.
It is. What was up with that cameo? It was so random.
He comes out. I looked over at my wife. I was like, oh, that was John McEnroe. Holy crap. But yeah, I swear
to God, I swear, McEnroe was just passing the set, and they threw him on there. There is no other reason he should be in this season. It's like, so he was just on set one day, and they're like, hey, you want a cameo?
No kidding. I mean, it was legitimately probably 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah, and it's hilarious, but literally, it comes so out of nowhere.
That's good stuff. Yeah, so yeah, that whole situation where, we get the montage a little bit, and then we cut, and they're like, he shows up at the apartment, and they're like, it's been 38 minutes. He's like, what?
I will say I did like that reveal of how he was able to, how Marshall / Rex was able to do it in 12 minutes, that because he didn't run downstairs and across the other building.
Right.
He ran along the ledge. At least I can't even remember what floor.
Oh, I don't know.
live
They're
on.
up. They've got to be up like at least 15 to 20 floors. Because
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
They're
Yeah,
up there.
I think it is like at least 14 or 15 floors. So it's like the fact that that I thought was a really good reveal.
I agree. Episode 6 is, I think, my favorite moment, because there's plenty of moments where these two have to try and work out either some type of technological problem because they don't understand their phones, or they have to try to they attempt to use some type of slang. And one of them, I can't remember if it's Steve Martin. Well, they both get into an argument about spilling the tea, but he's like, "Oh, spill the tea on him. Spill the tea on him." And I'm like, no, that's not how that goes. How do we use it again? So that was great.
I think episode 6 is one of my favorites. Nearly every season of this show, they do at least one episode where things are a little different. My favorite comparison is like in season 1, we had an episode that was almost entirely silent because most of it is through Theo's perspective. Side note, bring back that character. He was awesome.
Yes, 100%.
So I like the idea of this found footage style episode. I love that the sisters are shooting on Super 8 cameras. Oh my, I was watching, it's like, where the hell is Dorian when I need him?
Yeah, I agree with you. I like those different takes, different perspectives. So episode 7 is when they go to Charles' sister's house, and I mean, you already mentioned the fight, and we'll just leave it at that, because the fight between Meryl Streep and Melissa McCarthy, and then she's, "Oh, my pacemaker," and then Meryl Streep gets up acting. That's like, yes, it was good stuff.
That was good.
Episode 8. All right. So I had to binge all the last 3 episodes before I got on here tonight, because we was running a tight ship. So I finished it out about 20 minutes.
I binged like 3 or 4 episodes today after I ran my errands.
Episode 8, you pulled a ding dong, which was Eva Longoria trying to explain what a ding dong was. And then when they finally do it, "Oh, you pulled a ding dong?"
Yeah, I love Mabel's like, "What? It was a good idea."
Episode 9 is probably going to be Steve Martin Short arguing on the set of Ron Howard's movie, and then you see the monitors, and
the motion capture. Yes, that was great. It would have just been an okay scene, but the fact that we actually see the CGI motion capture result of these, which is now these 2 aliens bickering over a bachelor party.
And I forgot, this is where we find that Ron Howard has fake eyebrows because he got them burnt off. Cheese whiz, which was hilarious. Okay, and then episode 10, I think. So I had 3 things written down here. I already mentioned the Wire reference. And the fact that, I mean, we only investigate the murders in the building, which is a great piece of dialogue, but the reveal of Jan, which I think is her, reveal of Jan. And as they look over trying to figure out who shot, and they see her, she's waving. And I was like, okay, great. So
yeah, they're like, "Are you kidding me?" That was a great reveal. And yeah, the fact that she's been literally hiding in Charles' closet.
Right. We've seen her like
3 weeks.
We've seen her like, I think it was in the first or second episode of this season. Right. And then we don't see her again because we think that she's either been, I know they're looking for her.
Yeah.
Then we find out
from jail.
Yeah. We find out she's been, living in these secret passageways and going, she's still been, and then they finally arrest her at the end. So I can't wait for her to return. I do appreciate Amy Ryan. So, but yeah, man, I had such a great time. I even though I was having a hard time following what was going on, there was so much like entertainment value to this show that really surprised me. You know, when my daughter told me check it out, I was like, okay, I'll check it out. But I appreciate Steve Martin. I appreciate Martin Short that much. I was like, okay, let's see how they could do it. And they started delivering, and that's what they continue to do with this show. So if there is an episode 5, I understand we may be getting a little bit long in the tooth How many more people can get murdered in this building before it actually gets shut down? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like at what point? Like I said, I am waiting for the line where what's the name of the really bitchy tenant, Uma? I am waiting. Yeah, I am waiting for Uma to just walk out and say, I have hired a lawyer. My lease is terminated. I'm moving back to Kansas or some shit like that. I am waiting for her. I am waiting for the tenants to say, you know what? This shit ain't worth it. Bye-bye.
I will be sad. I mean, even though if it is the 5th and final season, I'll be sad because I want more Martin Short and I want more Steve Martin. There needs to be another project with those two because the chemistry, their acting is just phenomenal, off the charts. I love watching when they're both on the screen because they both play off of each other so well. And I want to know what's like, there's got to be so much improv going on. There has to be. But anyway, if season 5 is the last season, we got to figure out something to keep these two together.
Definitely. Unfortunately, I can't find any information on whether or not season 5 is going to be the final season or how long they plan to make this go. This is one of their number 1 rated shows. It just racked up another 4 nominations at the Golden Globes for Best Comedy and Best Acting nominations for our 3 leads. So it's pretty likely that Hulu doesn't want to let go of this golden goose because it is turning out. Everyone I know loves the show. It is one of my parents' favorites. I get mad at them because so I do not watch this show as it goes along because I tend to binge all of it at once because since I work TV Party Tonight, I cannot binge multiple shows at the same time or they all start to blur together.
Oh yeah.
So I wait until it's like, okay, do I have anything else I have to review? No. Okay, I can watch this. So they're watching weekly and they wanted to talk to me, but I'm like, I have to wait. Wait till I get this other show reviewed and then we'll talk. Oh, and I'm also in the middle, and I'm in the throngs of Christmas orders, so my shop's keeping me busy.
Oh, right.
So, and I refuse to watch something new while I'm working because I want to get engrossed in what I want. So I don't want to be like, yeah, well, I was working on earrings, so I really wasn't paying attention to the dialogue or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Next week we're going to be reviewing The Penguin. Were you on for that one? I can't remember.
Not me. No, I don't think so.
All right. I got Dorian and I think I need to go beg Robert. But now I have to go binge that over this week.
All right. Well, that'll be a bit different tone, I think.
Yeah, between more orders and putting up the Christmas decorations.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lit tree and garland and a wreath, and that's it. I don't even have any ornaments on the tree.
Wow. I'm right there with you. We put our tree up probably about, a couple weeks ago. Lights are on. That's it. We have probably 4 bins out in the shed full of Christmas decorations. Haven't even brought them in yet. I don't know what it is. It's just like, man, we were really lazy this Christmas.
We've been just so jam-packed with stuff to do. Andre was supposed to go in for surgery, unfortunately. And so we kept putting other stuff off. I asked a neighbor if I could hire their son to hang our lights for us, because Lord knows we don't have time to do that. It's just these last few months have gone by way too freaking fast.
I hear you. It'll be 2025 before you know it.
Yes. And hopefully in 2025, we'll get some notes on when we are going to continue with season 5 of Only Murders in the Building, which may or may not be the series finale. We'll have to wait and see. I'm assuming we will expect to have you back joining Mark and me for the next installment.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Because, the show is great. If you haven't watched it yet, then I don't know what the heck's wrong with you. Go watch it. This is a stellar show, stellar cast. All 4 seasons have been absolutely amazing. We cannot recommend it enough. Go check it out. Airing on Hulu. You'll love it. Let's go ahead and move on to plugs. Like I said, we're going to be covering The Penguin next week. We are currently getting a handful of shows scheduled for next month. We're going to be looking at Skeleton Crew, the latest installment from Disney, which is apparently their way of saying, okay, sorry, forgive us for Acolyte. And we're also looking at Creature Commandos. This is the first official foray into the new DC extended universe complement of James Gunn. And I am a huge James Gunn fan. I love what he did with Suicide Squad, so I've been looking forward to seeing this. Mark and I keep going back and forth on whether or not we think the new Superman is going to succeed, but I have my faith in James Gunn. I do.
I don't think it's misplaced. I've always enjoyed what James Gunn has put out there. So it's, I'm curious.
So we'll be doing that. I will also be coming on for a couple of movie reviews we got coming up. We're going to be talking Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I seriously cannot wait to see that. Keanu Reeves as Shadow. That's going to be hilarious. We're going to be talking Nosferatu, which is getting amazing early buzz. And January 2nd, we are going to be doing our wrap up. We're going to be discussing our top picks for the best and the worst of 2024. We usually just discuss movies. I will be chiming in with what I think was some of the best TV shows of 2024. So we're going to be doing that and talking about our predictions for 2025, discussing how the studios did. Hopefully we don't have to discuss just how badly Disney crashed and burned, because when we did that for 2023, it was like, oh, look, you could see it as it digs its way past the center of the earth. I don't think it can get any lower.
I mean, once you get past that, you're going up essentially, I guess. So
pretty much. So there's that. I know we still need to get the Spider-Punk Battle of the Band on the schedule.
Oh yeah.
Were there any other books that we were talking about reviewing? I cannot even remember.
Put me on the spot. I have no idea. I guarantee you there's probably something.
Probably. We did not too long ago take a look at the horror comics serial.
That's right.
That was Jesse, me, and Dorian Price. We had a lot of fun talking about that. So it's in the archives if you want to go check that out. Mr. Starcher, where else can our fans find you?
Oh, my goodness. Well, listen, if you go on to the w2mnet.com, you should be able to find a bunch of our podcasts on there. I'm the host of the Source Material Comics podcast. If you have a podcatcher, you could probably type in the Source Material Comics podcast and find the feed and subscribe if you'd like to hear me or anybody else that comes on the show, including Alexis, talk about comic books. The aforementioned serial was done back at the end of October. And recently, I had the opportunity to talk to Al Sedano, and we continued our discussion on Quantum and Woody. We're into the second volume there. And boy, that is a great book by Christopher Priest. It is some fantastic writing. M.D. Bright is also co-creator, I believe, of Quantum and Woody. And there's a lot of commentary, good commentary in that book, and a lot of hilarity as well. So if you get a chance, go check that out. Also, recently, myself and Evan Bevins are discussing the most recent release of Marvel Snap. So if you play Marvel Snap, you can hear me and Evan over there discussing. We usually talk about the previous season, the upcoming season, our top 5, which we haven't recorded yet, but it will be in the can here pretty soon. And then the Unspoken Issues podcast. Last week, we talked about Superman time and time again. Unspoken Issues is a 90s-centric comic book podcast. Superman, time travel. I was all about it. It was great. It was actually really good. It was the one time that I know that Superman referenced was not was. And do you have any idea what I'm talking about there? Okay.
Not a clue.
If I said walk the dinosaur? Oh man. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to have to send you a link. Anyway, it's an early 90s. I think it was early 90s or late 80s song called Open the Door, Get on the Floor. Everybody walk the dinosaur.
I know that song. Boom, shakalaka, shakalaka, shakalaka,
there you go.
Boom,
there you go.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that song.
They reference that in the book. It's so funny because Superman ends up back in the prehistoric times. He's walking beside a dinosaur and he makes a reference to the song. So much 90s. So much fun. Check it out. That's all I got.
All right. And as far as the plugs that do pay my bills, that would be Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. We are, like I said, we are busting our butts for the holiday season. You still got time to order. If you want to get your holiday presents in time for Christmas, we ship through the United States Postal Service. And I believe the deadline for this year is to have everything shipped by December 18th. The day we're recording this is December 11th. So Still got time if you're looking for a great gift for someone who loves nerdy accessories. And we are still doing our charity drive. This has been going on since Black Friday. It is going to continue till Christmas Eve. And that is for every order that is placed from either here at our Etsy store or our Handmade at Amazon shop. For every order that is placed from either of those, we will be donating $5 to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And I can go ahead and tell you that we have already passed last year's donation.
Oh, wow.
So really love doing this charity drive. So doing some really good work. Again, if you are still looking for a gift for someone who loves geeky accessories, or if you love geeky accessories yourself and you want to treat yourself, or if you have somebody who is looking for a gift for you and you want to point them in the right direction, come and check out our shop. Again, we have all of our stuff available on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. I cut you Twitter, and I do not miss it at all. Or you can follow us on TikTok. That's Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic. So for myself, for Mr. Jesse Starcher, for the missing Mr. Mark Radulich, thank you for tuning in. Be well, be safe. We'll catch you later.